All right, before I leave the space, I'm going to go ahead and just explain the burial vaults real quick so you have some framework along that lines. So burial vaults are not a state or federal law, but most cemeteries set their own requirements. And Cottage Grove Cemetery that we'll be going to does have a requirement for a burial vault to be placed at the gravesite. And these are just small samples, but it's the larger unit that the casket goes into. And so the purpose for them is many years ago they used to be made out of wood and treated wood, and over time those wood vaults would then collapse, and so the cemeteries began requiring a concrete vault, a little bit more substantial, over time. And so it not only does it enclose the casket, but it also protects from monuments tipping over, and it just a lot of it lends to less liability for the cemetery as those graves begin to settle. So the minimum cemetery requirement, and I'll just point you to this. This is our outer burial container, just on the back side of your casket price list. But they're all made of concrete, and basically as you go up in price, the thickness or the protection of the vault increases. So our very minimum cemetery requirement is going to be our what we call our grave liner. And it's made of concrete, and it just basically has a cover that just gets placed on top. When we go out to the cemetery, it's already in the gravesite, and so and then the cover is just tipped off to the side. As you go up to the next level of burial vaults, they add a liner on the inside. So not only does it strengthen the vault, but it also protects as a moisture barrier. The thickness on the liner is about the thickness of a plastic milk jug, but it gives a lot of strength and a lot of even some flexibility with the vault over time. So we can match whatever casket color you choose. We can always match that burial vault to that color or very similar to it. So when you go up from the Monticello to the Continental, the liner is the same, but then there's a little bit more concrete in the cover, more for load bearing. Some of the equipment that we're using gives a little bit more strength for the burial vault. As you go up to the Venetian, the difference is your liner begins to become much thicker. It's about the thickness of a PVC pipe, just for comparison. And then you also have the ability to do some more personalization with some carapace covers, some larger vinyl coverings that go over the top of this, as well as just the presentation where you've got two different colors. But all of these vaults here, you'll be able to see the burial vault cover just off to the side. And then kind of how it's positioned here, you'll be able to see the cover of the burial vault, and we'll also have name and date. Again, if you choose personalization, that would show up there. You do see the burial vault exposed here at the bottom too. But that's typically how the vault setup is at the cemetery. And then as you go to these units here they're called just the triune units. So there's a steel liner on the inside, stainless steel, copper, bronze. And then in between there's a higher strength concrete, as well as the same liner that you see on the Venetian. So they're a very strong vault. So I'm also going to add that many of the burial vaults can have an emblem, and this is all included in the cost, but have a nameplate with his name and dates on there, as well as different emblems. And these typically would go on the Continental, Monticello. They can go on the Venetian, although the Venetian itself can stand alone as a very nice presentation. But here's the different emblems that can be placed on the Continental and Monticello versions, and then here are the color options. So I'm just going to leave this with you as I step out of the room, but go ahead and you can give this some thought as you're picking out the casket or selecting the casket as well as the burial vault. So